No, it's not okay. Put that down and go away.
That's me confronting a suspected squatter, a growing problem with now 4.4 million squatters in the US alone. A squatter is someone who takes advantage of legal loopholes to take over and live in someone else's property for free.
You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. Yes, you are.
So since it's gonna happen to myself or you watching, I investigated the issue in 2 different states to see, how does squatting impact the community?
I stepped out the front door and there's a big puddle of blood there.
Downtown is impossible to go to.
Is this a real problem or something overblown?
Now we've brought in a whole lot of people in this country. It's just a matter of time before these people start taking for themselves.
And are all squatters just parasites of society like the media portrays them to be? I found out by visiting a squatter right in my neighborhood.
Literally in my neighborhood, I found a squatter house. Let's go talk to him. Let's go talk to him and see how long he's been there, if he's actually even the rightful owner or not. I doubt it, so let's get it. I'm just curious, I'm currently making like a documentary right now on squatters, and I was just like curious if you happen to live here or not.
I do and don't. I'd rather not talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
is this your house or?
It's my mom's.
Okay, are you not allowed to be here?
No, I'm allowed.
Is there any way you can show us inside or anything like that?
Yeah, probably it's not a good idea.
Okay, so why are you not able to go inside?
It's complicated. No problem.
Oh no, we're just doing a documentary right now on just like the squatter situation. Is he allowed to be inside or? Yeah.
We'd rather not talk to y'all.
Okay, well I'm talking to her. If she doesn't want to talk about it, is there something?
I'd rather not.
You'd rather not talk about it? Okay, I see. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Great, thank you.
So clearly they didn't want to talk. It was kind of a weird situation. The son definitely seemed like he didn't want her to talk about it. I mean, if that actually is his son, why is he not allowed inside? Not really sure. This one is actually like their right next door neighbor. And what we're seeing is that their backyards actually might be like completely connected. We might actually be knocking on a squatter's door thinking about asking about it, like if they've encountered any squatters. So, okay, let's see. Okay, it says please use side door. Oh shit. Hello? Excuse me? Oh, is he here? Are you the owner of this house?
Yes, sir. What do you need?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we could get some like context too, because you know we also saw some like people like sleeping out.
Yeah, he's leaving.
Oh, I see. Is he a squatter like that's looking to get in your house or?
Just a number of issues. It's all right. Thank you. I'm gonna let the police handle it.
Okay. Oh, so did you call the police on him?
Yeah.
So it seems like he obviously isn't welcome inside of the house. Based on what he said, he's the son. They're trying to do everything with the police. So I'll come back to the suspected squatter in Austin, Texas later on. But to investigate this issue further, I wanted to travel to Portland, Oregon. And if I was gonna confront the squatter in my neighborhood successfully later on, I was also gonna need more experience and maybe some help. I kind of need your advice. And so I wanted to start with this cute little beige house in Portland, Oregon. Did I really just say cute little?
And it's all because a group of houseless people have moved into a vacant home right on the street.
It seems like this used to be a place for squatters, but I guess based on the sign that we see here, I don't think that's the case anymore. We can see on the rooftop here someone doing a remodeling of the squatter house. I'm gonna talk to the neighbors here and see if they've had any run-ins or anything like that with the squatters.
Squatters are gone.
The squatters are gone.
Yeah. Finally, the bank was forced to sell the place. Those squatters were in there for 6 years. They were having drugs dealing parties at 3 a.m. They were doing drugs in the driveway, stolen motorcycles, cars. They were just professional criminals. The woman who originally got in there with the old guy, we called her Toothless. We don't know what her real name was. The original girlfriend of the face, she was job Betty. Because the first time we ever laid eyes on those two, she was giving him a job right there.
Right in the ball. Wow.
And yeah.
So the Chronicles of face job Betty
and then there was Disgusto. And
Disgusto?
Yes. She had no pants that were higher than the crack of her ass. And every time she'd bend over, it was like full on butt.
So all the neighbors were in unison with these names?
Yeah, yeah.
So it seems like they weren't just like living there peacefully, they were causing a lot of trouble and havoc in the neighborhood. Is that fair to assume?
Yeah, yeah. We all hated them.
So if you want to really see kind of like the aftermath of the squatters moving out, I think you could really see in the backyard. Yeah, I think right here you can really see everything that's gone on. You can see the fridge, tires, I can see why there's a lot of people living here, you know, all the trash. If I had to describe like a squatter's house, like this is probably what it would look like afterwards.
We were constantly on the phone with the police.
So the police would not do anything when you guys called them?
They couldn't, for some reason.
Why do you think these like squatters' rights exist? Do you think squatters should have rights?
No, it's not their property.
I think I'm not the only one that's wondering, like, why exactly do these squatter laws even exist? Squatters are taking advantage of legal loopholes and taking advantage of the lack of enforcement of property rights, and what they're doing is targeting properties that have been abandoned, like closed down businesses and unoccupied real estate investments. And they're even targeting average people living in single family homes, waiting for them to leave so they can barge in and change the locks on them. So it's obviously become an epidemic over the years, but recently, why are we hearing about this more than ever?
My name is Flash Shelton. I'm the founder of SquatterHunters.com.
The Squatter Hunter.
To help people with their squatters.
What is like contributing most to just this recent rise in squatting?
Social media. We tend to make everything rise. And whenever attention goes to something, it increases.
Una casa en United States.
So these are self-proclaimed squatter influencers, and they're using social media to teach others how they can do the same. And this specific guy is actually a migrant who is encouraging other migrants to come to America to take advantage of these laws. His name is Leonel Moreno, who entered the US illegally back in 2022. And legally, he was supposed to report to the ICE, but never did, so ended up squatting pretty successfully for years. And bro probably could have gotten away with it if he wasn't stupid and decided to post this on social media, because since that clip has gone viral, he has now been arrested and detained in federal custody.
We have irresponsibly opened up a border door, allowing a whole lot of people in this country without the resources to handle them. So since we can't even handle our homeless situation, and now we've brought in a whole lot of people that are living in encampments, living in tents, it's just a matter of time before these people get tired of what we have to offer them and they start taking for themselves.
If I may challenge you, it seems like squatting was something that was already on the rise before then, right?
I'm not saying that immigrants currently are contributing. I'm just saying that eventually they're going to be looking for shelter. They're looking at, okay, do we go into this house that seems to be vacant, or are we going to go and live in a tent on the sidewalk or a cardboard box in a field? What's our choice?
And I'll bet you so much goddamn money that there are probably countless of these squatter influencers and community groups that are teaching others to do the same. Like, look, I'll literally go on Google right now and look up squatter Facebook groups, and I bet you thousands will pop up. There you go. Squatters United, Site Life and Squatters, Pop Squatters, Tenants Right to Curse of the Squatters. Like thousands of it. This one even has 4,000 followers. I probably had to join the group to see like all like the private information, but what I have to guess is that they are literally telling people about different listings in which they can start squatting it. There's a whole community behind this now. And since it's becoming so big like this, you can imagine why states are now starting to take action. Florida just recently signed a bill in which the squatter hunter actually spoke at to allow the ability to quickly and legally remove a squatter from a property.
This law bill is a promising start to giving hardworking homeowners the support they need and deserve.
In other states like Georgia, South Carolina, and even New York, as we'll talk about later on, are following suit.
If you're squatting in Georgia, now's the time to leave.
And despite there being similar squatter laws in Oregon and Texas, surprisingly, allowing property claims after 10 years, enforcing it in Portland is just like a whole different story with increased homelessness, drug decriminalization, and police budget cuts. This is definitely one of the reasons that I wanted to investigate the issue here in Portland, because we have to understand how unique the problem is here. And it's actually the city that I was born and raised in a city that has a rapidly growing squatter issue. Some point to this growing problem with squatters due to Oregon's landmark decision to pass Measure 110 to become the first state in the United States to decriminalize possession of drugs, with 59% of the people who voted for and support.
I voted for that law, and I immediately regretted it. It seems to me like everybody is coming to Portland to be homeless. I think that did bad.
When I was filming here and walking around downtown, every other kind of commercial space was vacant. There were businesses not just closed or shut down, but there was nothing there. It felt like a ghost town. This may all contribute to not only making it easier to squat, but having more people around who has a need to squat. And look, clearly, again, I'm biased, I'm sad, it's my city that I grew up in. But as you'll see next, it really wasn't even the worst that you've seen. Because this squatting problem is now happening to all areas of the city, especially even in places that you will least expect it. I guess squatters have expensive taste too, man.
It takes only one house to upset an entire neighborhood. And this is just one of 6 vacant properties the city is now looking to foreclose on.
So this house, it was a old folks home for a while. They have 14 bedrooms in there. And then the couple that owned it, their health was failing, so they left. And they left it to their grandson, who it kind of became a squatter's house. There was like 8 or 10 vehicles parked out front, and it was just people coming in and out. Just people started breaking in and hanging out inside. And we figured there were drugs in there and stuff. But eventually the police came and kicked him out. Recently the city came and boarded up the windows, but people broke in to go in there. I mean, honestly, you guys should go inside. You can just go in there.
Well, I guess we'll try it. But for this next one, I had to be pretty careful because not only is the squatter issue a legal issue, but it can also be pretty damn dangerous. Like this story of how when a man started confronting the squatters who were illegally occupying his property, he was beat up pretty damn bad and even stabbed. But thankfully in his case, he worked with a criminal lawyer to not only prove that their lease was fake, he also was able to get his apartment back and get the 3 squatters arrested. But at the same time, since this owner, Steve, was seriously injured, a personal injury lawyer could also help him get the bag for the damages. And look, if you know my story, I've used lawyers before, and let me tell you, it is not easy or cheap with all the paperwork and driving back and forth to their appointments. And so bro can check out our sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. And so if you're ever seriously hurt in an accident, Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you what you deserve if you become their client. And as America's largest injury law firm, they not only have the resources, but the track record to not settle for lowball offers. Like over the last couple of months, they've secured verdicts like $12 million in Florida, which is 34 times the highest insurance offer, and $26 million in Philadelphia, which is 40 times the highest insurance offer. And so if you're ever seriously hurt, your case could actually be worth millions. And I almost forgot to mention, there's no upfront cost and it's free unless you win. And so they only get paid if you get paid. Submitting a claim is so easy online. Like, look at this form here. It's only 7 fields and takes 2 minutes to fill out. So you can start your claim with Morgan & Morgan by using my link in the description below, or by scanning the QR code on screen with your phone's camera. So you can check out Morgan & Morgan.
Maybe we go around the corner first. So it seems like every kind of entry point is boarded up. And you can see kind of like the broken windows there too. So yeah, it's like every noise is like getting me jumpy. Hello? Doesn't it feel like someone is here? I feel like we're like in a zombie apocalypse or something. You can see people's clothes. Someone's backpack here too, if you see that. Seems like when they got cleared out, it wasn't anything that was planned. It seems like people just kind of had to leave their belongings. Some more sleeping bags. A lot of broken windows. So it seems like this has just been an entry point. Let's see. Oh, nothing there. Maybe you can give me the camera. Okay. It's a whole bunch of nothing. You can see the entrance there, but I don't know if I want to go into that. Yeah, maybe that's a part 2, or I might not even make it out alive if I do that. Okay.
I heard that a lot of people have tried calling the police on squatters' houses, but in many instances, they haven't been able to do anything about it. Do you know why, in this instance, they were able to clear people out?
If I'm being honest, I think this is a nicer neighborhood and the police are maybe a little more responsive. There's not a lot of abandoned houses in this neighborhood. There just happens to be one, and the legalization of drugs in Portland was kind of a well-meaning idea. Like I don't even remember if I voted for it or not, but they were replacing rehab with jail, which everyone kind of agrees isn't a bad idea for drug users, but there actually wasn't any rehab element to it, so it was they just stopped sending them to jail, and the experiment hasn't worked, let's be honest. and I trust that Portland will get it back together.
And so it really is even crazy, right? That even like a richer neighborhood, a squatter situation is like very hard to avoid and get rid of. With all this happening with Portland over the last 3 years, it may actually be why they decided to end this experiment. Just as I was filming this, Portland actually just recriminalized drugs as crime again by repealing Measure 110. And even though like this study showed that it didn't lead to more overdose deaths and didn't lead to increase in violent crime, it seems like the citizens didn't really believe that to be the case, because what used to be a majority support for it has now flipped for 64% of support to repeal this law. And it really does come down to the law in certain states. And let me tell you, this lady found out the hard way in New York City.
So Adele, you're getting arrested right now?
I'm being arrested.
For what?
For being in my own home.
And so that was Adele Andaloro getting arrested because a squatter was living in her house.
You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. Yes, you are.
So how did this all come about? Andaloro inherited her family home in Flushing, Queens, or at least she thought she did, because as she was about to sell the home, she discovered the front and back doors of her new $1 million home has been changed. So of course she was concerned, right? Because if I was her, I would be too. And she clearly suspected the worst because she went to visit the house again with the property deed, and to her shock, maybe not even a surprise at that point, she opened the door to 2 individuals who were just living there.
This guy just forced himself into my house, and so did you.
One thing led to another, the police got involved and escorted the squatters off the property, but that's not the end of it. And so clearly wanting to avoid the situation again, Andaloro changed the locks of the front and back doors so the squatters couldn't come back. But as it turns out, New York law says that squatters gain certain rights after 30 days of occupancy, and even though the squatters didn't have any documentation that proved they owned the property, New York law prohibits homeowners from changing laws no matter how suspicious the claim is. To say that easier, since police can't really ask for a lease, she was actually arrested for unlawful eviction. And so again, you might be thinking, why don't these landowners just sue? Well, clearly it's not as easy as that, because the reality is that these landlords also can't afford to fight back. It's a lot of money, and it's exactly why, just like the house I just explored, sometimes it just ends up being left abandoned and forgotten because it's not worth the fight. And so as we're seeing, squatters not only affect the owner, but also the people living around them. And so we've already talked to one neighbor and her experiences living next to one, but what happens if you live below one?
The worst apartment in Portland.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for the interview.
As I said, our aesthetic is 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, if you could tell me a little bit about your situation. So you had squatters living upstairs.
For the last 3.5 to 4 years now, we've had a constant stream of people that are just living upstairs that aren't supposed to be up there. Immediately after moving into this condo, we dealt with some contentiousness upstairs. There was bass going at all hours of the day, banging, countless people running in and out because they were buying or selling drugs. At one point, there was a squatter living up there who fell asleep while he was working on the water heater. Then the water heater exploded and my entire bedroom ceiling fell in on me.
Are you serious?
Yes. And this whole, everywhere that you see, that's the new paint. It was huge. It was just a tarp for a whole year. And the tarp had a little funnel that came down into a trash can, just in case.
I sat there for months, and then I cut it out because I just got tired of it. Literally 20 minutes after I cut it out, water started falling.
Yeah, also she had a hysterectomy in March of last year, and she decorated it to look like a uterus. Look at that gorgeousness.
Oh, wow. So they would just go up here and then throw away the trash?
No, they would throw it from there. They wouldn't even care if they hit the fence or not. But yeah, look at all that beautiful trash.
Yeah, right?
And that's after they've come and cleaned it up twice.
So we've decided not to approach the squatters living upstairs. We're told they're very dangerous and threaten people when someone knocks on the door.
So this was the house that was causing you hell?
Yeah.
Yep.
404.
404.
Yeah, I guess you got the new locks in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really look like anyone's there now. What's like the craziest story that's happened? Is that the ceiling falling out? Any other stories?
I went to go to work one day and I stepped out the front door and there was a big puddle of blood there. Turns out somebody got stabbed on our front doorstep. We called the police so many times, they told us to stop calling.
They did.
Why did the police not do anything?
So the
It's Portland, that's why.
And legally, unless they have a reason to suspect something is dangerous, since the police had nothing that they could visually see, they wouldn't do anything about it. Yeah, Oregon has very, very liberal laws when it comes to squatters. They don't call it squatters' rights. They just basically, you have to go through the legal eviction process.
Do you guys think squatters should have rights like this?
You know, it's a hard question because we're in a housing crisis that is disgusting. I feel like if the government stepped in and had more programs that were dedicated to housing, we wouldn't have as many people living like this.
The decriminalization of drugs, the rise in homelessness because of the rising costs and the housing crisis. Do you think this resulted in more increases in the squatting situation?
I personally do. I very much feel like we passed this law, and I'm somebody who voted for this law because I thought we were ready for it. And it doesn't feel like we were ready for it. It feels.
So you guys regret voting for it?
I do. I 100% regret voting for Measure 110, and it's sad because I believe in the premise of Measure 110, but I don't believe in the execution. I don't agree with squatting personally, but I do believe that there needs to be more to help the housing crisis, and that we as people should be doing more, not just our leaders, but us as human beings should be doing more to help the people that are around us instead of disregarding them.
How exactly does a squatter's rights work? How does a squatter gain these rights, and like what options does an owner have besides like calling you?
If a squatter is able to stay, no matter how they get in, if they're able to stay in a residence for 30 days, they automatically become a full-fledged tenant with all tenant rights.
And so before we go on and hear more from the squatter hunter, what I thought would be important to hear from the other side. The side that thinks that squatting should be allowed. Because I'll admit to my bias, all right? Like so far in this investigation and everything that I explored, I don't know who in the right mind could think that this is okay. I mean, imagine working your ass off, spending most of your net worth to buy a house, and then you see a motherfucker just like living in it. I'll be fucking pissed too. I mean, who wouldn't? Come on, be honest, you would be too. But okay, like let's take the bias out of this, right, as we do with this channel, and let's at least hear out the other side and try and understand where they're coming from. Because to be honest, I don't think we've done enough of that yet in this video. So we can actually start with this guy, Miguel Robles Duran, an associate professor of urbanism at the Parsons School of Design. And in his bio, he says that he's an anti-capitalist, Marxist urban theorist, whatever that means.
Let me put this clear. Landlords are social parasites. They provide no social value. They are so focused on extracting money that they perceive people's basic need for a shelter as an opportunity to generate substantial profits.
I'm sure there are many shitty landlords out there, but you also have to you can't make such a big generalization, right? Especially as a professor, that you know, there's also a substantial amount of work that I assume is going in to be able to give you a place in which you can live at.
They exist because they are legally permitted to accumulate wealth by privatizing and controlling the access to a home, which is an essential element of human survival.
I hear you if you're talking about more so let's say a corporation like a BlackRock that is buying up a bunch of these single family homes, right? Making it that much more harder for the average citizen to be able to purchase a home by jacking up the property value. I understand that, but I think calling all landlords, especially someone who has had this home for years and has provided value by giving someone a place to live, calling that a social parasite, I don't think is a fair argument. Look, I don't agree with him, but there is an importance of at least exploring both sides and showcasing it, and we can at least understand where he's coming from, right? And so I want to talk to someone who's a hero to the owners, but probably a villain to many squatters. So let's talk to the squatter hunter.
I've got guys scheduled to come take the stuff out. Who are you? Just look me up.
So can you, I guess, share a little bit more about how you even got involved in hunting squatters?
Yeah, 2019, after my father had passed away, we didn't want our mom to be there by herself, so we moved her in with me, and leaving a vacant house that we were, in the process of selling. And I got a report that there in the evening there were people coming and going, lights were on, and that there was a broken in back door. I didn't feel like mentally that she could handle just the news that her home that she had been in for 30 years was taken over by other strangers. So I told her that I was going up to do some maintenance on the property, and I didn't want any trouble being there, and if somebody shows up and doesn't know who I am. So I said, so we're going to write a lease and we're going to notarize it.
Once the squatters left for the day, Shelton says he entered his home. Yep, his key still worked. What he discovered inside was shocking. Boxes and furniture everywhere.
Squatters are relying on a homeowner to follow protocol. Protocol is call the police. The police tell them it's a civil matter. Call an attorney, start civil process, serve them with a 3-day, serve them with a 30-day, a 60-day, a 90-day, and then so on and so on. That's what they expect. I'm not going to call an attorney. I'm not going to give them rights. Stop empowering your squatters.
Walk me through, like, more specifically, how exactly do you go about on your own, right? How do you identify a property as having squatters? Like, what are some of like the common signs that you look for?
Well, I mean, you know, the homeowners are doing that for me. So they're basically coming to me, they email me, and they tell me their story. I will break it down for them, simplify it, talk to them about their options, talk about, you know, them doing it, them bringing in, hiring somebody else or bringing in their friends. I explain to them about the option of my team going and doing it.
Let's say when they call your team to come in and do it, what does that process usually look like?
Well, the first thing I do is, you know, get them on the schedule. And then I will start with contacting the local law enforcement, let them know I'm coming, and I get a lease. My goal in these situations is to have law enforcement basically tell them the beautiful words of, it's a civil matter and there's nothing we can do. What I'm doing is I'm basically taking those rights that state allows, and I'm using the same system against them. So, you know, the whole term out squat the squatter, you know,
You're squatting on the squatter.
My tagline has become, you know, my original words was, if they could take a house, I could take a house.
Did you ever have a situation where you sympathized with a squatter?
I have not, only because I get to know the homeowners. I get to know what the grief that they're going through. And by the time I actually have interaction with the squatter, I can't think anything else other than I'm getting their home back.
I kind of need your advice. There seems to be what I think a squatter in my neighborhood here in Austin, Texas. I confronted him a couple days ago. He seems to be actually the son of parents that occupy it. So he sleeps in a sleeping bag right in the front lawn. Have you ever encountered something like that? And what would be your advice if I wanted to go confront them again to see what's actually going on?
Yeah, I would turn the sprinklers on. That would be number one. And it's funny because it's not that uncommon. I get so many messages about, can you get my kid out of my house? It's their responsibility. It's their kid. Get a full picture. Don't assume anything.
Okay, you know what? I've had some time to reflect since approaching those people, and I feel like I did that completely wrong. Felt like very intrusive, and I don't think I was like really approaching it from like a genuine spot. So I completely understand why they were like, yo, who the hell are these guys? Why the hell would we talk to them? So I'm gonna try and approach them with like a way better way, like maybe actually giving them some like food.
Thank you so much.
Or approaching it with like an actual intention instead of just like, hey, like, look, these are these squatters. Let's investigate them on camera. That's never how I want to like run my shit. So, yeah. Hi, excuse me? Excuse me? Hey, sorry, I know we met yesterday.
Dude, please get away from here.
I just wanted to say that we got off the wrong foot, so I want to just
I don't need anything. I don't want anything. Please go. Please, you can leave.
I was just wondering if we could get more context on what's going on.
No, you can. Can you put this there?
It also seems like you're not allowed to be on this property
Go
either.
away.
Is it cool if we talk?
Dude, no, it's not okay. Does it sound like it's cool? Okay, put that down and go away.
Okay, here's some water. Here's some tacos. Okay, well, I tried. Hopefully you can at least like enjoy like the water and tacos I got you. All right, have a good day, man.
So what I'm gonna do now is talk to their next door neighbor to that house. Excuse me? I know you're next door neighbors to the house like a couple doors down. I'm curious, do you know anything about that? What's going on? We try to talk to them. I don't think they really want to give us some answers. So I was wondering if like next door.
It's not a squatter.
Oh, I
Just
see.
mental issues, so just leave it alone.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's not a squatter.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Huh. Has there been any like trouble or anything like that? Or I see. Huh. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it. I wonder if it's right to show this. Did I even lead with empathy? Am I kind of just trying to paint like a picture of someone when it seems like that's not even the case, right? I mean, obviously it does at least represent like what is going on with a lot of these issues, that it sometimes does get misrepresented. And I'm always to be the first one to admit that if I'm wrong. It's also sometimes the feeling that I get doing these. It's like, am I just like taking advantage of people in like the shittiest situations? You know, exploring homelessness, exploring these kind of like extreme topics. Really, am I even like doing my explore the unfamiliar mission if I'm just, again, taking advantage of people?
And I've been realizing recently how hard it is to be completely middle ground, and it's almost impossible.
You know, this is not a political issue. This is a people issue. Just think of the fact that a squatter is not going to ask you your political views before he breaks into your house.
Because to me, I think it's common sense, whether you're on the left or the right, that being able to invade someone's property and live with it isn't justifiable. And if that in and of itself becomes an extreme view, then I guess I'll be for whatever that might be. But like I shared, if I really want to build the next big middle ground media company, I'm gonna have to do things differently. And I think the biggest struggle that I'm going with is how do I balance the views and being completely honest? Because if I'm gonna be real with you, I actually already confronted the squatter before I even talked to the squatter hunter. So that part was already filmed. And the only reason why I made it seem like I asked the squatter hunter and then went to go confront him on day 2 was it made for a better story. So honestly, I want to hear what you think. Because if we're gonna change the way the world approaches issues, then we need to change ourselves, myself included. So clearly I'm trying to take things to the next level, and included in that is our free weekly newsletter, Bridging the Bias. And if you sign up, link in the description, we'll share with you the one big story that you need to know every week from both sides. But if you don't care about all that and you just want to see more videos, then you can click here.